Hi everyone, it's Victoria here, and welcome to the podcast. Before we begin, I wanted to let you know about the free courses the Victoria Stilwell Academy has available to enroll in right now for dog geeks like you. Just go to vsdogtrainingacademy.com and click the enroll button, and you'll see the free course options. That's vsdogtrainingacademy.com. See you there. Dogs weren't bred to be couch potatoes. Why we must enrich our dogs' lives. No truer word was ever spoken. That is from Steve Dale. You know him. Gosh, if you live in the United States, you know him. Even if you don't, you know him too. He is an author, a broadcaster, and a dog behavior expert. He speaks on dog behavior and cat behavior all over the world. He is a mind of information, and he's one of our wonderful presenters for the Dog Behavior Conference this year. Welcome to the podcast, Steve.
Oh, this is so exciting. It's always exciting to speak to Victoria Stilwell from It's Me or the Dog.
You know, I know when you introduce me on your radio show, because you are a radio DJ, and when you introduce me on your radio show, that's how you do it. And I love it. It makes me smile every time. I was like, when Steve asked me to come on the radio, I always know that he is going to do this wonderful announcement, as only you can do, Steve Dale.
And only I would want to do, probably. This is fun. It's always fun to talk to you. But what's great here is that we're turning tables. And you're asking me the questions. I love that.
I am, because you're a presenter at the Dog Behavior Conference.
Which, incidentally, I know I'm interrupting you, and likely
That's
I will
fine.
again and again. But I will tell you, I told you this privately, when I saw the list of presenters you have this year, every year it's great, but this year, oh my gosh! I mean, these are people I would pay and will pay to see. I mean, it's incredible. And they are from not only the United States, but from around the world. People who have written books about dog behavior, people who speak all over. But these are the speakers who teach the speakers. I mean, this is amazing.
Yes, yeah, this is our 11th Dog Behavior Conference, and it is an online conference. So anybody from anywhere in the world can join. And April the 19th to the 21st, it's just 8 hours every day of incredible information. And if you want to learn more about it, go to dogbehaviorconference.com. You're talking about enrichment for dogs. But I would like to pick your brains, if you don't mind, about enrichment for cats too.
Oh,
so can we touch just a little bit about, our dogs are couch potatoes. You made a statement there that it seems like our animals in zoo animals are getting more enrichment than maybe some of our dogs at home. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Oh, absolutely true. I mean, when I began to think about this term that I had not heard of before, actually, 20 some odd years ago, called enrichment, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it meant, but I worked at a zoo. And I saw what the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago was at that time and continues to do for every species, from spectacled bears to Barbary macaques, a kind of monkey, to even the reptiles, and how those environments are enriched. They are captive animals, and it's necessary. Well, in a sense, our dogs and cats are captive animals. Cats, for sure, right? Most cats, although this is changing for many people, and I can talk about it, are getting out into the world. Increasingly, though, we're keeping our cats indoors from a day-to-day basis. When they go out, it's going out safely on a harness and leash or in a carrier of some kind, which can be wonderful for cats. However, they are otherwise, and I'm happy about this, indoors only. I mean, our cats live longer that way. However, they require, I used to say it was a good idea to have an enriched environment for dogs and cats. Now I say, no. We have to do better than that. It's a necessary thing. I mean, and, dogs, I don't know exactly what the rate is and how it compares to the UK or US for people. but our dog unemployment rate is even higher. And all dogs were bred to do something. And in some cases, that something was just and is just to sit in our laps and look very cute. However, many dogs, even mixed breed dogs who come from something genetically, were all at one point in time bred to work. And our dogs today want to work. They'd like to work better for all kinds of reasons we can talk about if they do work, but greatly they don't. And one more thing, it isn't work from the dog's perspective. So I know you doing what you do, you love doing, right? So it kind of isn't work really. And that's what I'm talking about. So I am not talking about putting a dog to work here like slave labor here. I am talking about, and if the dog doesn't enjoy doing it, forget about it. Don't do it. And if the cat doesn't enjoy doing it, you forget about it because there's no way the cat's going to do it.
I like that. I like that, the way you say that. I really like that. It's not the kind of work, we're putting our dog to work, but we are, in a way, giving our dogs jobs to do. And especially important as well, if you've got some kind of breed, like a border collie or something that it almost seems instinctual with those dogs, that they show herding, some type of herding behavior. I mean,
absolutely.
How can we and should we be tailoring our enrichment with that in mind, with our breed in mind?
I love that question. And in fact, what I've long wanted to do, I haven't done it yet, and I don't think anyone's going to do it. I mean, I don't think anyone has done it. Now maybe that I'm letting the cat out of the bag, so to speak. Somebody will do it. Maybe you, I don't know. But there hasn't been, and there needs to be a talk, and I need to create this talk because I do talk about enrichment. I have a talk about enrichment for geriatric animals and how a cat, just because that cat is 22 years old, hasn't lost its prey drive. Then how do you satisfy that need? A terrier that's 16 years old still wants to dig. How do you satisfy that need? So I've got that talk, but I don't have one yet. I will. You're motivating me for breed-specific behavior. So let's go back to border collies, and that's an easy enough example, right? We shouldn't even take an example that is so darn easy.
Yeah,
because
I know
they're born, for the most part, wanting to herd. Now, let's flip the coin a little bit, and let's say, and this happened. I think the movie was called Babe. It starred a border collie some number of years ago. And you had these 88-year-old women adopting border collies. Good and fine. They are great dogs. However, that 88-year-old woman isn't providing the kind of enrichment that dog needs. They are not providing jobs that, generally speaking, border collies require. So without that, they don't have an outlet for these natural hardwired behaviors and can do several things as a result. Get into trouble by our definition. They are not getting into trouble from their definition. They are only doing what border collies were bred to do. So when the grandchildren come over and one grandchild goes that way and another goes, oh, I'm going to go that way. And now they're suddenly being brought together. They're being herded together by the border collie. And grandma says that's not right because one of the kids gets knocked over in the process. So let's give dogs appropriate jobs to do that work for us and work for them.
Jo Pei is going to be talking about chasing, and she is a big expert when it comes to border collies. She's had a number of them, and she definitely sees that behavior in hers and is able to give them the outlets that they need.
That's the thing.
Tell me a little, because I know you are, and I'm excited for your presentation about enrichment and some great ideas, enrichment for dogs. But can we focus on the senior pet? You said about senior cats, even if you've got a 22-year-old cat, they still have that prey drive. What sort of enrichment would you use for cats and for elderly dogs?
Yeah, so when I first began It's like I'm an old man because I first began doing it so long ago. But I did. And when I began talking about enrichment, I didn't have science to work on. It just seemed to be right. And on the cat side, Dr. Tony Buffington came along and did all these studies to help us better understand why cats were getting feline interstitial cystitis, now often called Pandora syndrome, because it involves not only inflammation of the bladder, but other systems as well. And at that time, veterinarians were throwing antibiotics at it because you throw antibiotics at everything. Also, it was thought to be related or mistaken for urinary tract infections. And who in the world would think that if you enrich the environment, I'm talking cats now only, but if you enrich the environment, that this inflammation of the bladder will go away? What does one thing have to do with the other? And he figured it out. And now studies have been replicated over and over. Dr. Megan Heron and others have indicated that that is the case. Cats, it's this weird conundrum. The cats, on the other hand, if I say to you, what do cats hate more than anything else? Or a room filled with cat behavior consultants or veterinary professionals, the answers will be, or cat breeders, the answer is screamed back at me, change. Cats hate that. On the other hand, they need that. So how do you find the right amount of that? But it is necessary, not a good idea. It's more important than that. It's a necessary thing to do that for the well-being, not only psychological, but physiological well-being of our cats. What did you ask me? So you asked me about senior cats.
Senior cats, yes.
Yes.
And
Sorry,
senior dogs as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I got off the track. So here's where I was going with that. When I first began talking about that 1,000 years ago, there was nothing out there for cats. There were no cat toys that moved, for example, no treat dispensing toys for cats. There were some for dogs, and the dog world has always led and continues to lead the cat world. But today, there are numerous cat and dog objects, which I could talk about in a second, that deal with lifestyle issues, some enrichment and some just plain lifestyle issues for dogs and cats that are geriatric. Let me give you some examples. And I also can give you some examples of some things you could do at home and spend zero money on, which I'm always all about. So there are cat treats now that are actually made for older cats. They have steps. They have little steps. And it's easy enough even for an arthritic cat. And incidentally, cats do suffer arthritis far more than we ever knew. And I think there is a speaker you have at this event talking about the relationship in dogs of pain and behavior, which is an incredibly important topic, often not discussed. So I'm glad it will be at your event. So that is just one example. But here's another example. We had a cat who was at that time nearing the age of 20. And I don't know about if you do this, Vic. How many pillows do you have on your bed?
Oh, yeah, quite a few actually. But
yeah. My wife's the same way. Yeah. I'm tossing the pillows off the bed before I go to bed for like an hour and a half. There are thousands of them. I don't even know where they come from. So I did that. And the pillows are just randomly, I'm just throwing them everywhere. And they're just randomly arranged. And our cat, who can no longer, at that point, this was before a product called Silencia, and she had GI issues. So we were so limited in what we could do for her arthritis. But at that point in time, could no longer jump on the bed, loved being on the bed with us, and I would literally pick her up and put her on the bed. However, she was on the bed. I turned around and there she is. What she had done, and I have video of this, is she used the pillows as kind of a makeshift ramp to walk up to the bed. So they were arranged in such a way where she figured it out and she was able to get up on our bed. What's more, walking on those pillows, have you ever done physical therapy and you walk on these balance things and same kind of thing? So it turns out to be PT that's free for me, great for the cat. So it's a win-win. If you are creative, and the reason why I tell you that whole long story, if you are creative, you can come up with all sorts of things to do. Now, dogs, for lifestyle, we have steps and we have all these things that can be purchased now that can actually help dogs to get up places that you can purchase. Cats, similarly so. But there are other things that we can do for geriatric dogs as well. I talk about how it is such a top. Do you want to get into a bar fight? Maybe not?
Yeah. Should I say yes to that?
No, probably you wouldn't.
Yeah. No.
But the sure way to get into a bar fight is to talk about what kind of food you feed your dog or cat.
Oh gosh, I never tackle that subject.
Right.
Ever. People ask me, and I just remain quiet.
And unlike you, I open my big mouth. But I think a far more important question isn't what we feed them, but how we feed them. Both dogs and cats actually, I think, and there's some data to show this, enjoy working to get their food. Now, what happens with our geriatric animals is that interest in working to get the food, which incidentally has a name, and I can talk about that. I don't want to give everything away. I'll be talking.
No, you don't want to give everything away. Let's give people some wonderful tips for the conference.
But this idea is true that dogs and cats actually, in all likelihood, for the most part, prefer working for their food. So I'm just talking about stuffing their kibble inside a toy, a treat dispensing toy, the food puzzles that are out there. That doesn't go away because the dog is getting older. But what you have to do is make it easier for the dog to do. The other thing that we don't consider very often with older animals, as they enter the possibility actually of getting canine or feline cognitive dysfunction syndrome, which is like Alzheimer's for our pets. I'll be talking a little about that too. And that ties in with enrichment because we know that dogs are a model for human aging. There are many researchers that have looked at that. And this isn't anything that's my opinion. It's all fact. That interestingly enough, dogs age, of course, much faster than we do. However, they age similar to how we age. And researchers have looked at that now for many years. It is thought that enriching, let me rephrase that. It is known that enriching environment for humans helps to delay the onset of cognitive decline. I mean, it's no coincidence that independent or assisted living centers offer computer courses. The font on the type is probably 88 point. That's a whole other story. And dogs rarely take computer courses. But learning new things all the time is just as beneficial for dogs. We know that, as it is for humans. And if it's true for dogs and true for people, why not true for cats as well?
I'm speaking with Steve Dale, and he is going to be a presenter at the conference. Very excited for that. We're talking about enrichment for cats and for dogs. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back after this message.
A quick break here to get a word from this episode's sponsor, the Victoria Stilwell Academy. Now, did you know that I have a school that teaches people to be dog trainers? I love It's Me or the Dog and my work as a dog trainer on television, but those of you who know me know that my true passion really lies with helping other people live their best lives with dogs. And I love seeing that truly magical transformation when that light bulb goes off with someone I'm helping with their dog. That's what it's all about. It's the secret sauce that pet professionals like me, who work with these amazing animals, that's what we all share. It's what makes being a dog trainer the most rewarding, enriching job I can imagine. It's why I love what I do. And it's also why I founded the Victoria Stilwell Academy, so that I could provide a roadmap to others who want to help dogs and the people who love them learn to do what they love doing at the highest level. That is to become professional dog trainers. Earning a living working with dogs professionally, it's been a dream of mine for years. And that passion is what drives all of us at VSA to create courses that are specially designed to help adult human learners chase their dreams. Now, Most people already know about our flagship dog trainer course, which provides both online only and in-person options. But did you know that we also offer both dog guardians and future professionals a fully refundable 10-hour online course taught by me and other awesome VSA faculty, and it's called the Fundamentals of Dog Training and Behavior course. Now, I know it's not the sexiest name, but it's one of the most dynamic learning experiences available to dog geeks, and it's a pretty awesome first step to see if learning with VSA is right for you. Now, as a Positively Podcast listener, you can use promo code PODCAST right now to get the Fundamentals course for 50% off. That is $150 value. So, take our course. Plus, we also have a couple of free starter courses. They're free, completely free, including a course called Building Your Dog's Confidence, which reveals the secret ingredient to a happy dog life. So, I encourage you to check out VSA today. As I said, we have courses for all levels of learners. So it doesn't matter whether you're a newbie with your first puppy or a grizzled vet already making a living as a pet professional. Visit positively.com/VSA to learn more and enroll in a free course. That is positively.com/VSA. We all want the best for our dogs, whether that means you taking home some key tips for your own dogs or adding the ultimate in professional dog trainer education. Visit positively.com/VSA today. VSA, it is the future of dog training. And now, back to the podcast.
I'm back with Steve Dale. He is an author, presenter, dog behavior expert. He speaks all over the world. I mean, I just love it when I see Steve Dale on the roster. That's the reason why I was like, please, could you speak it up at our conference this year? Please, 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 please. I know you prefer, Steve, to do in-person conferences now, but we kind of got you during COVID. So at least we've got you back again. What is your life like? I mean, you also have your own radio show. Before we kind of delve a little bit deeper into this topic, tell us, how did your radio show come about? You're based in Chicago.
Yeah.
So how did Steve Dale's Pet World come about?
Well, I've been on WGN radio for, I think, 27 years now. And I do also have a couple of nationally syndicated radio shows. I believe we're about to celebrate our 20th anniversary for those.
Wow.
But for WGN radio, I'll tell you, it is a very special place, that radio station. I mean, to be in radio for 27 days is a long time. So for 27 years, I never would have imagined that, you know. And what had happened is I was on Bob Collins' show. You don't know his name, but Chicagoans do. And he was a legendary Chicago broadcaster who had a dog named Booger. So he had me on periodically talking about dogs. And I came on one particular show. I remember these kinds of toys were then new. So you had a little squirrel toy that went like a little squirrel noise. It wasn't only a squeak. A little lion, and it went or something like that, right? And that worked on the radio because they had noise. It was around Christmas time, and I was talking about getting these types of toys, which again was a new deal at that time for dogs. He kept me on like a half hour, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but he never kept on guests. Actually, he kept me on an hour, and he never kept on guests for more than like 6 or 7 minutes. And he kept going to commercial breaks, traffic, weather. It's morning drive. You have all of that. It's a talk station. But at a meeting right afterwards, you're getting the more detailed story than I've told in years.
No, I love it. I love it.
At a meeting right afterwards, with all the heads of the department, the program director reportedly, I wasn't there, said, well, I'd like to begin some specialty shows. And Tom Peterson, the news director at that time, said, didn't you hear it this morning? This guy's been on before. He's been on with him and him and him. He's on with Bob all the time, and he knows how to do radio. So rather than have a veterinarian on, why not have a guy? Because I had done radio a lot. When I was in my late teens, into my 20s, I was a air personality, a DJ in Chicago. I was playing disco music and such, and other types of music too. If there was a format, I probably worked it, So I love being on the radio, and soon enough, I had a radio show that was only about pets. It was on, I think, Saturday night, and I've been there ever since and love it. And what I love most about it, and I would suggest you might feel the same way. You're not, when you're helping dogs, you're helping more than dogs. You're helping the entire family. And I kind of feel that way too.
That's why I love my job so much, because I see it as a team. At Positively, we don't just see, dogs as their separate entities and humans as they're a team. And we have to help the team, certainly in the work that I do, where I am dealing with a lot of sometimes quite extreme behavior. Then my one aim, amongst others, but my main aim is to restore harmony and understanding so that team functions in a way the team should function. And that brings me on to another topic I'd actually like to ask you, which is dogs and cats together. Now, you told me, and am I getting this wrong? Please correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying, did you say that a third of homes that have a dog also have a cat?
Approximately, yes. Yeah. And that number is increasing. So, the truth is we don't need to bring in the United Nations. I mean, I hate when people say they're fighting like dogs and cats. I actually called a colleague who said that on the radio at one time and kind of yelled at him. I said, they don't do that. So that's just not true. Yes, there are many times when dogs and cats don't get along. There are many times, I'd argue many more times, when cats and cats don't get along or dogs and dogs don't get along. There are even more times where humans and humans don't get along. What's the divorce rate now? Like 50% or something like that. So, it's not always where they get along. And we're not asking the cat, you're ready to have a dog in the house. The other reason why there are more of them than ever before, if you think about it, is our fault. And here's what I mean by that. Because there are more divorces than ever, you've got a family that gets remarried, and they already have 2 dogs, and that other family already has 2 cats or whatever. People are also getting married later in life than ever before. So it used to be that the kids came first. In America, it's not that way anymore. Statistically, more often a pet comes before the child comes, but because people are getting married later, he already may have 2 cats, she already may have a dog and a cat, and now they're melding those families together. So that's the other reason for it.
You had also said that we're seeing more dog bites in the United States
Yes.
than ever before.
Yes.
We are coming up to National Dog Bite Prevention Week. In the States, it's normally in April, and I know that we're starting discussions for this year's Dog Bite Prevention Week. But why is that? Why are we seeing more dog bites than ever before?
That's a big question. So, and there are lots of answers to that, but I've actually studied this. So one simple answer, and it's true, there are more dogs than ever before. That's part of it. It's just going to happen if you have more dogs. Many of those dogs were obtained during the pandemic and were not appropriately socialized. That is a big contributing factor to all this. Another reason, or other reasons, include, and some of them may be surprising. One is apparently, and I didn't know this, the warmer the weather, the more dog bites there are. And dogs are more likely to bite in hot weather, and we've had record temperatures all over the country. So that, believe it or not, is somewhat of a contributing factor. I don't know how much of a contributing factor it truly is. We are taking our dogs more places than ever before. So on one hand, I'm a proponent of that. I have been a cheerleader for places like dog parks for a long time, but not all dogs are appropriate to go all these places. So I am so glad that there are few cafes or outdoor patios at restaurants that don't allow dogs at this point. That's great. Dogs are a part of our families. We do like being with them and taking them with us. But not all dogs want to be in these places. Not all dogs have been appropriately socialized to be in these places either. Having said that, overall, I would argue that they are better behaved than children are. But that aside, that is still a fact. Yeah, that's still a fact. So you've got all these and there's more. There are far more reasons than that. And one of the concerns is that not only are we talking about more dog bites, we're also talking about more fatalities. And I am worried. First of all, it isn't right. I mean, no dog gets up in the morning and says, I am determined to bite my family member. There's a reason for that. And caught early, we can help. Sometimes the reason is unrecognized pain, which is, again, something you'll be talking about at the conference. I know that. But there are other reasons for that, too, which if we recognized early, and some of the reasons have been reasons for millennia, and that is a lack of supervision involving children. So you've got all of these things and more just thrown in one bucket. And I worry, and this was what I was beginning to say, I worry about the dogs themselves because no dog feels good, I don't believe, about biting. That's rare. That is an abnormal dog.
Well, the predatory, that's a dog that really is exhibiting predatory behavior. Predatory behavior is reinforcing. I mean, obviously, it's the way that our feral dogs, especially many of them, find something to eat. Right? Predatory behavior can be a feel good factor for the dog because hopefully they're for them that they're reinforced with being able to catch whatever they catch their prey and dissect and consume their prey. But in our households, that is not normal behavior, is it? Well, we can say predatory behavior is, but it's actually very dangerous if your dog is exhibiting that kind of behavior towards your cat or, God forbid, towards a human being. Is that what you mean when you said that, dogs don't want to bite? There are some dogs that do. Yeah. Is that what you're meaning?
Yeah, absolutely. You got it. That's exactly right. And there's one other factor that is controversial. But I'm out
really,
there
Steve, you're controversial.
I know. You and I are very much the same, but that's where we differ a little bit because I will be out there and I'm out there talking about this. And, sometimes when I bring this up, what I'm about to say at vet conferences, I actually get applause. The veterinarians appreciate that I'm out there talking about it. Increasingly, shelters in America, I don't know about the UK one way or the other, shelters in America are under pressure to adopt all dogs with the notion that there is no, quote, bad dog, and that all dogs can be, quote, fixed. First off, I don't know that I buy into that. But secondly, the biggest concern I have is the way these dogs are, quote, fixed. They're given a certain time frame, they meaning a trainer that's hired by the facility to moderate or change that dog's behavior. And for whatever the reason, time is part of it, that they've so little time to do this, but they choose trainers that, okay, I've got to do this in 6 days or whatever that time frame is. I'm going to moderate that behavior the fastest way I can. Or some trainers truly believe the right way to do that is electronic collars and other aversive methods that make you cringe and make me cringe and sometimes make me cry. Because what happens is they do change the dog's behavior for now. They do moderate the dog's behavior. However, you've got a ticking time bomb that's now being adopted into a home that may have children on top of everything else. And that's not fair to the dog because you're really not adjusting the dog's thinking. I would argue you're making things worse. And you can comment on everything I'm saying if you'd so desire. And it's certainly, and the dog will end up being euthanized perhaps. And it's when that dog might not, but might have been a dog that could have been properly helped, but that could take more time and maybe more money, therefore. But in their effort, and generally it's no-kill facilities, and in their effort to demonstrate to their board members and donors that they are indeed no-kill, they do this. And it's horrible. And what's more horrible is that sometimes these dogs are dogs with broad shoulders, big heads, stocky dogs that we call pit bulls. They're only mixed breed dogs in truth. And they continue, therefore, to get the bad name. And that's not the issue. The issue is the training method, or maybe that individual dog who in some cases may have been euthanized or could have been euthanized, and that might have been the best answer, and spend your resources focusing on adopting other dogs. It's a controversial thing, but I'm out there talking about it. And that is one reason why by dog bites have gone up as well, because this is a fairly newer thing.
I support what you say 100%. And I obviously live in the southern part of the United States, where there is a massive pet overpopulation problem, where bites are increasing, and where we have a number of shelters that like to call themselves no-kill, because that means that, they get more funding, because people don't like the idea of shelters killing dogs. And they are absolutely full to bursting. 80% of those dogs are bully-type, breed-type dogs. And sometimes measures are used to get these dogs adopted that have a high, that they're going to fail. And it is devastating. And the amount of returns these shelters get too are very, very high, because there's some incident that happened, because the dog bit the child, or bit a visitor coming into the home, or chased after the cat, or killed a dog. I mean, you hear these stories every day, unfortunately. So I support what you say. I also, because I've seen it, I've experienced it as well. I'm also very upset, agitated, frustrated, annoyed that the trainers that do use shock will use the whole rescue dog, if I didn't put a shock collar and train it, it would be euthanized thing, as a way to set themselves up to be the trainers for these types of dogs, because they are the ones that can save the dogs' lives. Positive trainers can't, because what they do takes too long, and also they don't take on the extreme cases. And so that is the argument that these trainers will give to lawmakers. That is the argument that these trainers will give to clients who might be questioning. And this is the argument that whenever you put a post, an anti-shock collar post, and you come out with some, very good science as to why don't use them, that is why they get on the pages, and you get a ton of insults. And Victoria, you don't know what you're talking about. Just continue being an actor, because that's all you are. You're a fake, you're a phony, you're everything else under the sun too, apparently. And that is the way that they type very, very fast and very, very, very agitated to tell me that, Victoria, you're fine. You're fine working with the little dogs that are in confined areas, but leave the big ones with the extreme behavior to us, because we save lives. It is insane. That is just the most stupid and pathetic and not well researched, and I think ignorant argument to make, but they're making it. And that frustrates me, because there are thousands and thousands of people over the United States, as well as around the world, that are working with dogs of all kinds, with all kinds of behavior, that are doing amazing work without the use of fear, intimidation, or pain, including using shock collars. Do you also hear this argument that, hey, Steve, you can talk all you like, but we with our shock collars are saving these dogs' lives, otherwise they'd be euthanized?
Similar argument. No one's ever called me Victoria, but above and beyond that, I feel like crying almost. This is, yes, to answer your question. And it is tragic that many members of the general public are either so desperate to help that dog, which I understand, that they feel they buy into this notion. And of course, the dog is always worse off. And and in the first place, some of these dogs shouldn't even be considered for adoption, especially where you live. Where there are so many in the shelter. It's a matter of resources, and it's a matter, I know I'm going to get the hate now too, and I have before, but I know we can do better than we're doing now, and doing better doesn't mean there is no need to harm dogs in the process of doing that.
But
science,
suppressing behavior, that's what they think. That's what the shock collars are doing, and we know that. Suppressing behavior to them is a result. It is positively reinforcing for them to see this behavior suppressed by the pain of the shock or the irritation or the discomfort. And hey, it's a result. This dog ceases to do what is a dangerous behavior, but we know that in the future, as you said, it's a ticking time bomb. Because you suppress an animal enough, well, maybe it's going to shut down, but then one day it's going to say, you know what, enough. This is how I feel. If you're not dealing with my feelings, how I feel about a situation, you're just correcting me for feeling scared, for feeling insecure, for feeling nervous, for feeling angry, for feeling frustrated. You're just going to correct me and tell me off and punish me?
All true. And then the family
you're not giving these dogs anywhere to go. You're setting them up for failure.
You are. And what's more, they're handing over the shock collars in some cases to the family. And, as unfortunate as it is that the professional trainer does it, it's even more unfortunate. You and I have seen so many times well-meaning family members use these things indiscriminately or incorrectly, and that even makes matters, if possible, worse. There's no good side to any of this, except, we continue to talk about it. You and I both have platforms. We should tour the country talking about this, and I'm serious about it. And I'm glad you're talking about it, because it's a tough topic to talk about. And when you, in any way, shape, or form, criticize the no-kill movement, right there, you're considered a bad guy. And of course, we live to help dogs. We don't want to see dogs or cats euthanized at a shelter. That's not the intent. We want them to stay in homes in the first place. But, seriously, we should hit the road and talk about this. Or on one of your TV platforms. And I've talked about it a bit on the radio. And as I say, I've done this in front of veterinary professionals numerous times. I've talked about it. And almost overwhelmingly, not quite, people who are professionals in the veterinary field, because they see the other side of this, then they see what has gone wrong. Yeah. And they understand exactly what I'm talking about.
Steve, you have, you've always been outspoken, and, you and I have bonded over certain, maybe other trainers that shall not be named, but you have always, with conviction, spoken truth. And you have always championed dogs and cats. And I remember even when I first met you, you would always say, hey, don't forget the cats. Don't forget the cats. And it's true because I'm so focused on the dogs. Be like, don't forget the cats.
Well, what is your new website?
Positively.com.
No. You should change that. Positively.cat.
Yeah, right. There you go. Oh my God. Victoria still is branching out into cats. No, I leave that to you.
Yay!
Yeah. No, absolutely not. No. I have enough on my plate with dogs, but I'm so happy to have spoken to you today. You have put yourself on the line and you've definitely caught the flack too, but you keep continuing with what is right. And you, as I said, are champion for the animals. And for that, I thank you so much. Guys, if you want to hear Steve Dale's talk, Dogs Weren't Bred to be Couch Potatoes, Why We Must Enrich Our Dogs' Lives, you must register for the Dog Behavior Conference, April the 19th to the 21st. This is online. So as I always say, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. You can be there live. You can listen to the recordings for a year after the presentations go out live. It truly is. We have 12 incredible speakers, including Steve Dale. And then if you are there live, you have a chance to ask questions and they will answer them live. So, Steve, thank you so much. Now, if people want to listen to your radio show, where do they go? If they want to find out more about you, where would they go?
So I post in podcast form much of what I do on the radio, and I write blog posts every single day. Did you know that there's a product, an artificial sweetener called xylitol?
Yes.
And it's toxic to dogs, right? Now on labels, you should look for that on labels. But now on labels, it may not say xylitol, may contain birch sugar. That is the same exact thing. So those are the kinds of things I write about on my blog. And that is stevedale.tv. And you can sign up for a free, my favorite 4-letter word, free newsletter as well.
Do you know what? I did not know that. I did not know birch sugar was xylitol. I've learned something today.
It's fairly new, and why this has been done, I don't have a clue. But I do know it's the same exact thing. So if it's got birch sugar in a product which range from from human toothpaste, never use human toothpaste on pets anyway, to brownie mixes and cookie mixes that are no sugar. To the big one is peanut butter, right? We tell people to get low fat, low salt peanut butter, no sugar peanut butter. They do, but it may have xylitol in it. Now it may say birch sugar. So most of the emergency visits for ingestion of xylitol are actually from peanut butter regarding dogs. By the way, ferrets have a similar issue with xylitol or birch sugar. Cats can, but not necessarily. But cats aren't interested overall in sweets anyway. But if it's my home and I had 3 cats, I'm not taking the chance.
That is so important. Thank you so much for telling us that. That is shocking because, of course, yes, peanut butter, sometimes we use that because dogs love it. Most dogs love it. And but I had no idea. And that is the reason why I adore you. And that's the reason why, not only do you just write beautifully, but I love your radio show. And I thank you so much for coming on as a guest.
I adore you more. You know that. And there she goes, Victoria Stilwell from It's Me or the Dog.
Wow, that was a send-off. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And I will see you next time. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Victoria Stilwell's Positively podcast. For Victoria's online dog training courses, more information, and helpful dog training tips, visit Victoria's official website at positively.com. Get connected on Facebook, Instagram, and other social media as Victoria Stilwell, and follow her on Twitter at Victoria S. Learn to become a professional dog trainer with the Victoria Stilwell Academy at vsdogtrainingacademy.com. And be sure to tune in next time as Victoria helps you and your dog live your best life together. Positively.